In 1997, the world's largest company decided to conquer Europe. Not a startup, not a challenger brand, the world's largest corporation by revenue. A company so dominant in America that 100 million shoppers walked through its doors every single week. A company that had crushed every competitor it had ever faced. A company whose chief executive genuinely believed that their formula was so powerful, so proven, so unstoppable that it would work anywhere on Earth. The company was Walmart, and the country they chose to start with was Germany. It would become one of the most embarrassing corporate failures in modern business history. After nearly a decade of mounting losses, legal battles, cultural humiliations, and an estimated €1 billion burned through with almost nothing to show for it, Walmart quietly packed up and left Germany in 2006. It was the first time in the company's history that it had been forced to completely abandon a major market. And the most extraordinary thing about this story is not that they failed. It is how completely, how avoidably, and how arrogantly they failed. This is the story of why Walmart lost in Germany, and what it teaches every business about the one mistake that even the most powerful companies in the world keep making. To understand the scale of what happened, you first need to understand just how dominant Walmart was. Sam Walton opened his first store on Walnut Street in Rogers, Arkansas in 1962. It was a modest shop in a small town that most Americans had never heard of. 40 years later, that single store had become the largest corporation on Earth by revenue, overtaking General Motors and Exxon. By 2003, Walmart's annual sales reached $244 billion. That figure was equivalent to the combined revenues of Germany's 30 biggest retailers. All of them combined. Every week, 100 million Americans shopped at Walmart. The company had revolutionized retail not just through scale, but through technology. Its inventory management system was the largest civilian database in the world, second only to the Pentagon's, and holding 3 times more data than the United States Internal Revenue Service. It operated the world's biggest private satellite communications network, tracking sales and replenishing stock in real time across thousands of stores simultaneously. Walmart's formula was simple and lethal. Everyday low prices, excellent customer service, a corporate culture so strong it bordered on religious. Together, these 3 things had made Walmart unbeatable in America and very successful in Mexico and Canada. So in the late 1990s, when Walmart looked east toward Europe, the logic seemed obvious. Europe was a massive, affluent market. Germany alone was the 3rd biggest retail market in the world, after the United States and Japan. It was the largest in Europe by a considerable distance. 80 million consumers, €2 trillion in annual economic output, and no single dominant retailer, just a fragmented collection of regional players that surely could not withstand the Walmart machine. In December 1997, Walmart made its move. It acquired a German hypermarket chain called Wertkauf, 21 stores, for $1 billion. 1 year later, it followed up by purchasing 74 more stores from a chain called Interspar for another €560 million. Overnight, Walmart became the 4th largest hypermarket operator in Germany. And then, everything went wrong. The first and most fundamental mistake Walmart made was one of strategy. The Interspar acquisition seemed like a bold power move, but in reality, it was a catastrophic error of judgment. Interspar was not a strong chain. It was widely considered the weakest player in German retail. Stores were run down, inconsistent in size and format, and mostly located in poorer inner-city areas. They generated some of the lowest revenue per square meter of any hypermarket in the country. And critically, Walmart had not even bought the real estate. It had purchased subtenant status at most of these locations. It was paying enormous sums for stores it did not own, in locations it could not control, with formats it could not easily standardize. Even worse, Walmart now had 95 stores scattered across a country where 80% of the population had no Walmart nearby. In Germany's retail market, scale is everything. Experts estimated that a food retailer needed annual revenues of at least €7.7 billion to extract meaningful price concessions from suppliers and reduce logistics costs. Walmart Germany's actual revenues were around 2.9 billion euros. They were 2.5 times too small to even compete on price, the one thing that was supposed to be their greatest weapon. And they could not simply build more stores. Germany's strict planning and zoning regulations made it nearly impossible for large-format retailers to open new locations through organic growth. Walmart tried to buy its way to scale through mergers with competitors Metro and Globus. Both deals collapsed. Metro's owners reportedly dismissed their own chief executive when he was rumored to be preparing a sale to Walmart, just to signal how unwilling they were to help the American giant grow. Walmart was trapped, too small to win on price, too spread out to win on convenience, and too proud to admit it. The second mistake was even more damaging, and it had a name. It was called hubris. Walmart sent its first chief executive to run Germany, Rob Tierks. He was an American, and he had previously supervised around 200 Walmart supercenters from the company's headquarters in Bentonville, Arkansas. He did not speak German, and he had no intention of learning. English was declared the official language of management at Walmart Germany. Strategic advice from former Wertkauf executives, people who had spent their careers understanding the specific rhythms, laws, and culture of German retail, was ignored completely. The top 3 of those executives left within 6 months. Tierks was replaced after a short period. His replacement was an Englishman named Alan Layton. He also did not speak German, and he preferred to manage the company from his office in Leeds in the United Kingdom. He, too, lasted only around 6 months. A succession of 4 chief executives came and went in the first 4 years of Walmart's German operation. The cultural collisions were not just at the top, they were everywhere. Walmart brought its famous employee policies to Germany. One was the 10-foot rule. It instructed any employee within 10 feet of a customer to greet them with a smile. Another was the store greeter, a member of staff positioned at the entrance whose sole job was to welcome shoppers as they arrived. These were cornerstones of the Walmart service philosophy in America. In Germany, they were a disaster. German shoppers, unaccustomed to being approached by strangers in shops, repeatedly complained that they had been harassed. The greeter program was eventually scrapped. German employees, uncomfortable with what they considered forced and artificial friendliness, resented the mandatory smiling. Some reportedly turned away from customers rather than comply. There was also the matter of Walmart's Code of Ethics, which the company distributed to German staff in English. It included a provision prohibiting romantic relationships between employees of different seniority levels. German unions took Walmart to court over this, arguing it was an unlawful invasion of employees' private lives. The court agreed with the unions. Speaking of unions, this was perhaps Walmart's most costly cultural blind spot of all. In the United States, Walmart was aggressively and famously anti-union. Of more than 1 million American employees at the time, only 12 were known to be union members, all of them in the meat department of a single store in Texas. The company had built its entire operating model around non-union labor. Germany is not America. German unions are powerful, legally protected, and deeply embedded in the culture of work. The relevant union, known as Verdi, had millions of members and real political influence. When Walmart refused to formally acknowledge the results of the sector-wide wage agreement that Verdi had negotiated with the retail industry, the union organized walkouts at 30 stores across the country, lost sales, terrible publicity, an image of a union-bashing American corporation that cared nothing for German workers. The battle escalated further when Walmart refused to publish its financial results, which is a legal requirement under German commercial law for all corporations operating in the country. The company was fined repeatedly. Eventually, the fines were levied not just against the company, but personally against Walmart Germany's chief executive, its chief financial officer, and the head of its European operations. The case went all the way to Germany's Supreme Court. The third mistake was the one that should have been impossible for Walmart to make. They failed to deliver on their core promise, everyday low prices. This was supposed to be the one area where Walmart could not fail. Price competitiveness was the entire foundation of the company's identity. Walmart entered Germany expecting to do what it had done in every other market: launch an aggressive price war, undercut the competition, and use its superior logistics and purchasing power to sustain prices that no rival could match. It did not work, for one specific reason. Germany already had Aldi. Aldi is a German institution. Founded by two brothers, Theo and Karl Albrecht, in Essen in 1946, Aldi invented the hard discount format, a brutally efficient retail model built on ultra-low prices, minimal staff, a tiny range of around 600 to 700 products, high own brand quality, and absolutely no frills whatsoever. By the time Walmart arrived, Aldi controlled around a third of the German food market. A third. In other retail markets across Europe, hard discounters held around 10% of the market at most. In Germany, it was a third and growing. Walmart launched its price cuts. Aldi matched them immediately. So did Lidl. So did Rewe. So did Edeka. Independent consumer surveys, including research from Germany's highly influential consumer protection agency Stiftung Warentest, found that Walmart was not actually cheaper than Aldi or the other hard discounters. In many cases, Walmart was not even cheaper than the traditional supermarket chains. The everyday low price promise, the entire reason German consumers were supposed to choose Walmart, turned out to be largely empty. In the country that had invented discount retail, the American master of discount retail could not compete on price. The fourth mistake concerned something even more basic. Walmart did not understand what German customers actually wanted. Germany is a country where consumers are deeply, almost unusually, price conscious. Research by McKinsey at the time found that 42% of German consumers defined themselves primarily as price and value shoppers. German consumers ranked among the most price-sensitive in all of Europe. What they did not particularly want was the kind of warm, attentive, service-oriented shopping experience that Walmart had perfected in the American Midwest. The elaborate in-store service philosophy, the greeters, the enforced friendliness, the staff constantly offering assistance was not a selling point in Germany. It was an irritant. Germans had been shopping happily in efficient, no-nonsense self-service stores for decades. They did not need to be smiled at. They needed the lowest price on their weekly shop. Walmart was investing heavily in a service model that its target customers did not value, which meant those service costs were pure overhead. Labor expenses ran above the industry average with no competitive benefit to show for them. There were also practical legal constraints that Walmart had failed to anticipate. German law at the time restricted store opening hours to a maximum of 80 hours per week. Stores could not open on Sundays or public holidays. In the United Kingdom, stores could open 168 hours per week, every hour of every day. Walmart could not offer the round-the-clock convenience that was part of its brand promise in America. German antitrust law also presented an unexpected obstacle. German competition regulations prohibit retailers from selling goods below cost price on a permanent basis. This is the opposite of the American and British approach, where loss leader pricing is a standard and perfectly legal promotional tool. Walmart's classic tactic of driving foot traffic through heavily discounted loss leaders was potentially illegal under German law. The company was investigated and fined by the Federal Cartel Office for selling certain products below cost. By 2003, after 5 years of operation, Walmart Germany had accumulated losses estimated at over 1 billion euros. Its market share was just 1.1% of the German retail market. It ranked 13th out of Germany's top 15 retailers. Customer satisfaction surveys placed it 7th out of 10 major chains, below Aldi, below Globus, below Kaufland, below Lidl, below the very competitors it had come to destroy. In 2006, Walmart gave up. It sold all 93 of its German stores to a local competitor called Metro at a loss of approximately $1 billion. It was a complete and unconditional surrender. Walmart's own chief executive Lee Scott had admitted as much in a German business interview several years earlier. In rare public candor, he said that Walmart had gotten more things wrong in Germany than it had gotten right. That is a remarkable statement from the leader of the world's largest corporation. So what really went wrong? At its core, this story is about a single recurring failure. The failure of a successful company to accept that the rules change when the market changes. Walmart had a formula. The formula had worked in America. It had worked in Mexico and Canada, countries that were geographically, culturally, and economically close to the United States. When the formula met a genuinely different market, one with its own deeply entrenched retail culture, its own price leaders, its own legal framework, its own consumer psychology, Walmart did not adapt. It did not adapt, and it doubled down. The first lesson is that market research is not optional. Walmart entered Germany without adequately understanding the competitive landscape it was walking into. Germany already had the most price-competitive retail market in the world. Average profit margins in German food retail were just 0.5%, compared to 5% in the United Kingdom and 3.5% in France. This was the most brutal, most efficient, most ruthlessly competitive grocery market on earth. And Walmart walked in thinking it could teach Germany about low prices. The second lesson is that culture is a business variable, not a soft consideration. The greeter, the mandatory smile, the English-only management meetings, the ethics code written from American legal assumptions. Each of these was not a cosmetic issue. Each was a direct signal to German employees, German unions, and German customers that Walmart did not consider their culture worth adapting to. The cost of that signal was measured in walkouts, lawsuits, management turnover, and brand damage. The third lesson is that size in one market does not transfer to another. Walmart's purchasing power, its legendary logistics infrastructure, its satellite network, and its data systems. None of these advantages fully translated to Germany because Walmart never achieved the scale required to use them. You cannot extract the same supplier discounts in a country where you have a 1% market share as you can in a country where you have 30%. And the fourth lesson, perhaps the most universal of all, is that arrogance is the most reliable predictor of failure. When a company stops asking questions and starts issuing instructions, when it sends executives who refuse to learn the local language, when it dismisses the advice of people who have spent their careers understanding a market, it is already lost. It just has not received the bill yet. Walmart received its bill in 2006, $1 billion. And a lesson that every business school in the world now teaches as a textbook example of how not to enter a foreign market. If this story resonated with you, and the Walmart Germany case is genuinely one of the most instructive business failures of the last 30 years, make sure you subscribe. Every week on this channel, we dig into the marketing disasters, the corporate collapses, and the unlikely comebacks that shaped the world of business as we know it today. I will see you in the next one.